I want you to be honest with yourself. How much time have you wasted staring at that screen? How many minutes, hours, or even days have you spent overthinking a simple message? You type it out, you delete it, you rewrite it, you send it, and then you wait. You replay the conversation in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, wondering if you were funny enough, smart enough, or interesting enough. Most men spend their entire dating lives in this state of anxiety. They believe that if they can just figure out the perfect sequence of words, if they can just show enough effort, the woman they want will finally see them. But here is the harsh truth that most men never learn. The harder you try to prove yourself, the faster you become invisible. You are watching this because you want to know how to stay on her mind. You want to know how to be the man she thinks about when she wakes up, and the thought she drifts off to when she falls asleep. And you have probably been told that the way to do that is to do more. More texting, more compliments, more chasing. But the secret isn't doing more. It is understanding deep human psychology. It is about 3 specific words and the energy behind them that can slide quietly under her skin and activate the part of her brain that keeps replaying you like a favorite song she didn't even realize she put on repeat. No, I am not talking about the obvious line like, I love you. Those words are too heavy, too soon, and often too desperate. I am talking about words that trigger the unconscious mind. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why your current strategy isn't working. We are going to dive into the psychology of Carl Jung, the concept of the shadow, and the biological wiring of the female brain. And I will give you the exact framework to shift from being a man who chases to a man who haunts her thoughts in the best possible way. Settle in. This isn't a quick tip. This is a complete shift in how you view human connection. The logical trap. Why nice gets you nowhere. Let's start by dismantling the biggest lie you've been sold. The lie that attraction is logical. Most men approach dating the same way they approach a job interview. They think attraction works like a checklist. They tell themselves, if I show her I am handsome, if I show her I am smart, if I prove that I have a good job and I am kind to her, then logically, she must like me. It makes sense on paper, doesn't it? But if attraction were logical, dating apps would have solved loneliness a long time ago. We would all just input our data, match with someone who has 80% compatibility, and fall in love instantly. But that is not how it works. You have probably experienced this yourself. You meet someone who is perfect on paper. They are nice, polite, successful, and yet you feel absolutely nothing. There is no spark, no pull. Why? Because the connections that move us the most aren't logical. They are emotional. They are symbolic. They live in the part of the mind you can't see, but you can feel. This is where the nice guy syndrome comes from. And when I say nice guy, I don't mean a man who is genuinely good. I mean a man who is nice because he is trying to trade his kindness for affection. He thinks, I sent her a good morning text, so she owes me a reply. I bought her dinner, so she should like me. This is a transaction, and the unconscious mind hates transactions. When you operate from this logical transactional mindset, you become safe. You become predictable. And in the world of attraction, safe is just another word for boring. Think about the standard text you send. Hey, how are you? How was your day? Hope you're doing well. These lines aren't bad. They are polite, but they are invisible. They are placeholders. When a woman receives a text like, how was your day? Her brain doesn't light up. It doesn't release dopamine. It simply recognizes a pattern it has seen 1,000 times before. It files you away in the category of polite, safe, forgettable. To stay on her mind, you have to break the logic. You have to stop trying to convince her conscious brain to like you and start speaking directly to her unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, what Carl Jung knew. To understand how to do this, we need to look at the work of Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists in history. Jung studied the unconscious mind, that hidden ocean of desires, fears, and memories that lives beneath the surface of our daily awareness. Jung said something profound. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life and you will call it fate. What he meant was that we like to believe we are making smart, conscious choices. We think we choose who we fall for. But in reality, the unconscious arrives first. The unconscious is the puppet master pulling the strings. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant magnetic pull toward them even though you barely knew them? You might say, we just clicked. But that click wasn't random. That click happened because something in their behavior, their tone, or their energy bypassed your logical filter and spoke directly to your unconscious. This is where real desire lives. It lives in symbols, it lives in tension, it lives in the things that remain unsaid. Most men are terrified of the unsaid. They want to explain everything. They send long paragraphs explaining how they feel, explaining why they didn't text back immediately, explaining their intentions. They want clarity. But the unconscious mind doesn't fall in love with clarity. It falls in love with mystery. It falls in love with the story it creates about you. When you explain everything, you kill the story. You leave no room for her imagination to work. And if she isn't imagining you, she isn't thinking about you. You need to understand that the human brain is an anticipation engine. It is constantly trying to predict what happens next. When you are predictable, the brain turns off. It goes into autopilot. But when you are slightly unpredictable, when you don't follow the standard script, the brain wakes up. It starts paying attention. This is the key to obsession. Obsession is simply the brain trying to solve a puzzle. If you hand her the solution immediately by being overly available and overly logical, the puzzle is solved. Game over. She moves on. Pattern interrupts and novelty. So, how do we apply this? How do we become the puzzle? We do it through pattern interrupts. Human beings are creatures of habit. We live in loops. We wake up, check our phones, go to work, come home, watch TV, sleep. Our interactions follow loops too. The standard dating loop goes like this. Man sees woman. Man pursues woman. Man compliments woman constantly. Man becomes anxious when she pulls back. Man chases harder. She knows this script. She has played this role 100 times. She knows exactly what you are going to say before you say it. If you want to be unforgettable, you must break this pattern. Biology dictates that we ignore what is constant and we focus on what changes. If a fan is whirring in the background of a room, after 10 minutes, you stop hearing it. Your brain filters it out because it is constant. But if the fan suddenly stops, you notice immediately. You need to be the moment the fan stops. This means your text shouldn't look like everyone else's. If every guy is asking her interview questions like where are you from and what do you do for work, you need to do the opposite. You need to make statements. You need to be playful. You need to challenge her slightly. Instead of asking, do you like adventure? You say, I bet you're the type of person who gets into trouble on weekends. Do you see the difference? The first is a question that requires a logical answer. The second is a playful assumption that requires an emotional response. It forces her to think, does he think I'm trouble? Is that a good thing? Suddenly, she is thinking about you. She is analyzing your words. You have interrupted the pattern of a boring conversation and replaced it with a spark of curiosity. This is where the three words concept begins to take shape. It's not just about the words themselves, it's about the timing and the intent. It's about delivering a small shock of novelty to a system that is bored with predictability. Emotional anchoring, feeling versus facts. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about emotional anchoring. The mind doesn't store words very well. If I asked you to repeat a conversation you had 3 years ago word for word, you couldn't do it. But if I asked you how you felt during your first kiss, or how you felt when you got your heart broken, you can access that emotion instantly. That is because the brain prioritizes emotion over data. If you want to stay on her mind, you have to stop trying to exchange data and start trying to exchange feelings. Think about scent for a moment. Have you ever walked down the street, smelled a specific perfume or cologne, and been instantly transported back to a memory of a person from your past? You didn't try to remember them? The scent forced the memory to the surface. That is an anchor, a powerful neurological link between a stimulus and a feeling. You can create these anchors with words, but to do that, your words must carry emotional weight. This is why the generic, "How are you?" fails. It carries zero emotional weight. It is beige. It is flavorless. To create an anchor, you must make her feel seen. This is a profound human need. We all walk around wearing masks, pretending to be cooler, happier, or more confident than we are. When someone sees behind that mask, even for a second, it creates a massive spike of attraction. This leads us closer to the core secret. The most powerful words you can say to a woman aren't about how beautiful she looks. She knows how she looks. She has been told she is pretty 1,000 times. Complimenting her beauty is low-value currency because of inflation. Everyone does it. To anchor yourself in her mind, you must compliment her reality. You must notice something about her character, her energy, or her quirks that no one else notices. When you say, "I noticed you're actually quite shy when you're not the center of attention," or "I get the feeling you're deeper than you let people see," you are bypassing the vanity and hitting the ego. You are hitting the soul. You are creating a moment where she feels exposed but safe. That combination, vulnerability and safety, is addictive. It creates an emotional anchor. Now you aren't just the guy who texted her, you are the guy who gets her. The 3 words and the power of space. We are finally here, the core of the philosophy. The 3 words that matter more than "I love you." But before I give them to you, you must understand the delivery mechanism: space. You can have the best script in the world, but if you send it 5 times in a row without a reply, it becomes garbage. Scarcity creates value. Gold is valuable because it is rare. Air is vital, but we don't value it until it's gone. You must be willing to speak your truth, drop the anchor, and then step back. So, what are the words? What is the phrase that creates this obsession? It is the concept of, "I see you." Now, I don't mean you literally walk up to her and say, "I see you," like a creep. I mean using 3 words that convey that sentiment in a specific context. Phrases like, "I noticed that," "You surprise me," "Tell me this." Let's look at "You surprise me." Just 3 words. Imagine you are talking to her. She says something witty or insightful. Instead of just laughing or saying "cool," you pause, look at her, or text her, and say, "You surprise me." Why is this so powerful? It is a challenge. It implies you had an expectation, and she broke it. It is validation. It implies she is interesting, not just pretty. It creates a loop. She will immediately ask, "Why? What did you think I was like?" Now, she is chasing your validation. She wants to know how you see her. The dynamic has flipped. You are no longer the one trying to impress her. She is trying to understand your perception of her. Or take the phrase "I was thinking," sent as a text after a day of silence. "I was thinking," and then you don't send anything else for a minute. Her brain goes into overdrive. Thinking what? About me? About us? Was it good? Was it bad? You have opened a loop. You have activated the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological principle that states people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. By creating that small cliffhanger, you force her mind to focus on you. And when you finally follow up, make it something observant. "I was thinking, you really have a chaotic energy that I actually kind of like." Boom. Novelty, emotion, validation, all wrapped in 3 simple words that broke her pattern. The shift. Let's bring this all home. This isn't about memorizing a specific magic spell. It is about shifting your internal state. The reason you have been struggling is that you have been operating from a place of scarcity. You have been afraid to lose her, so you held on too tight. You were afraid of silence, so you filled it with noise. You were afraid of being misunderstood, so you explain too much. When you understand the psychology we talked about today, you stop fearing the silence. You realize that silence is the canvas where her attraction paints itself. You stop trying to be perfect and nice, and you start being real and observant. You start using your words to create impact, not just to fill time. Remember, attraction isn't a choice she makes. It is a reaction to the environment you create. If you create an environment of desperation and predictability, she will feel bored. If you create an environment of curiosity, space, and deep observation, she will feel drawn to you. So the next time you pick up your phone, pause. Ask yourself, am I sending this to get validation, or am I sending this to create an experience? Be the man who isn't afraid to step back. Be the man who notices the details. Be the man who uses his words to touch the unconscious mind. Do that, and you won't have to wonder if you are on her mind. You will know you are, because you will be the only one who made her feel something real. Thank you for watching. If you want to understand more about the deep psychology of human dynamics, stick around. We are just getting started. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why your current strategy isn't working. We are going to dive into the psychology of Carl Jung, the concept of the shadow, and the biological wiring of the female brain. And I will give you the exact framework to shift from being a man who chases to a man who haunts her thoughts in the best possible way. Settle in. This isn't a quick tip. This is a complete shift in how you view human connection.